Hey everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we kick off Chicago and Beyond's first ever educational webinar. Sorry for the little glitches here at the beginning. Bonnie was going to do the initial introduction, but my name is Wendy Howard. I am a digital marketing consultant with WSI and Hagedon Digital. Although WSI is located in over 87 countries, I happen to reside just a few miles down the street from Chicago and Beyond's offices right here in Belvedere. I am from the Chicagoland area originally and have been here in the Rockford area for over 10 years now, working with Bonnie on various partnerships and events, even back when her office was the Northern Illinois Tourism Board. We are really excited to be working with Chicago and Beyond, the Northern Illinois Wine Trail, and Drive Lincoln Highway to improve their digital impressions and marketing efforts. So stay tuned as those changes take place over the coming months by making various improvements, many of which we will be increasing the traffic and visitors to their sites, which hopefully will end up bringing even more visitors to your websites as well. During the webinar today, if you have any questions, please feel free to type in the box, which you already did when we were testing the sound. We will have a Q&A segment the last 15 minutes of the webinar or so, so no worries if we don't answer your question right away. We'll do our best to get that answered during our Q&A segment. Next, I would like to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Baltej Gill, who you've already heard here on the phone. He's actually in our Toronto office this morning. Baltej is our VP of Internet Relations and an extremely valuable member of our WSI Hagedon team. So without further ado, Baltej, why don't you take it away?
Okay, great. So first of all, thanks for the introduction there, Wendy, and Bonnie. I know you could hear us because we could see you typing away. So this is, we're very excited to join forces here with Chicago and Beyond and do this type of webinar. At the end of the day, our goal is for all the people that have taken the time out of their business today to join us is to help educate you in terms of some of our key findings, some of the trends that we're seeing in the digital space, and of course how you guys could take away some golden nuggets and put some of this stuff to practice. The one challenge that I think I face personally is when you start talking about trends, there's just so much information and so much data out there that we could present. And to try to cram it all into one webinar in 45 minutes or less, it's always a challenge because there's just so much information out there. So what we have done is collectively as a group, we've tried to take different segments in terms of technology, in terms of search, in terms of social, and kind of what's next in terms of general marketing, and at a very high level, and try to put it together in this presentation so it's meaningful for everyone on the call. So having that said, let's start with that first section here in terms of where are we with technology and where is everything going. So I don't think these next few slides are going to impress anyone because these are things that we see every single day. We know looking at this screen that we realize this is not the web anymore. It's not someone, turning on their desktop and signing in. That is not the internet. And this is more like the internet as we see it today, where we now have multiple ways or connection points to access data online, whether it be through desktop or laptop or through tablets or through smartphones. But really, we're living in this space right now where the World Wide Web exists at our fingertips from multiple sources of devices. And we'll talk about the importance of this, but even more importantly, where is this all going? I mean, that's what it is today, but down the road, and we'll talk about some futuristic stuff, but I mean, virtually everything, one way or another, is going to be connected with, from major appliances to vehicles. They're all going to be connected online. So as a business owner, if it does make sense to have your products or your services or your information available to those users, regardless of what device that they're using, you need to make sure that you are present there and the user experience there, which we'll be talking a lot about in this webinar, it's not compromised because of the device that they're on. So the first and foremost trend, and this is nothing new, but Google has said There is probably now, I don't know the latest stat, but I would probably guesstimate at least 95% of all websites online as of today are not mobile friendly. And when we mean by mobile friendly, I know that's sometimes a confusing term because people are like, wait a second, if I pull out my iPhone or my Samsung, I go to my website, it loads up fine. And these smartphones, they actually are very, very smart. They are now able to grab a lot of data and put it online, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a responsive website. When we use the term responsive, it's not just the fact that your website loads on a smartphone, is the user experience there where people don't have to zoom in and click. So regardless of which device that they're using, does it auto scale to that actual platform that you're on? So let me just quickly jump screens over here. I'm going to open up a web browser. So if you just want to quickly test to see if you've got a responsive website, or if you're looking at some of your customers or some of your competitors, we've loaded over here. I mean, one of the easiest ways, of course, is if you just load up the website on your phone to see how well does it load and are the images clear and so forth. But a quick trick that you could do, so when you're on any website, if you want to know if it's responsive, so basically you're going to notice that if I hit the restore button where it could actually scale my window screen here, watch what happens as I start to scale the screen smaller. You can see everything starts to shift over, and in fact, the smaller I get, you can see now, depending on how this GoToMeeting is rendering it, but you can see now all those buttons, they're stacked on top of each other, and everything still fits. There's no left and right scroll bar, and everything fits on the screen. You'll even notice a little icon here that says menu now. Again, if I start expanding, that word menu disappears because now you're actually seeing the menu across the page. So there's the navigation, and then there is the icon. Because the reason why this is important is because regardless of if you're on desktop, if you're on laptop, if you're on tablet, or if you're on a mobile device, your website would auto fit and auto scale to the device of the user that's actually trying to navigate and interact with your brand. So I'm a big Seinfeld fan. I always joke about this episode of Seinfeld, and if you follow Seinfeld, you're probably familiar with this one. It's where Jerry jokes about the girl having man hands or fat fingers, and the reason I love this line is it's so frustrating as a user when you're trying to click on a mobile website, or actually when you're on your phone and you're trying to click on like the Contact Us page or the About Us page. But you click on Contact Us, but because it's so small, the text, or you have to zoom in or pinch and do also, try to click, it just makes it very, very frustrating for anyone to actually navigate and have a great experience while they're visiting your website. One of the things you could do is if you have something called Google Analytics installed on your website, Google Analytics, it's a free service that Google allows you to track to see who comes to your website, how long did they stay there for, when did they leave, where did they go. It gives you all sorts of data and all sorts of metrics, which really help understand the behind the scenes of your visitors when they come to your site. You could actually check to see how many people are coming through mobile devices. So if I zoom in here a little bit, you can see one of our clients that we're looking at. We could see that in the last 30 days, that roughly 60% came from desktop, 29% came through mobile, and 10% came through tablet. So again, why is these metrics important? Well, again, if you don't have a responsive website, meaning it auto scales to a mobile phone, or if you don't have a mobile standalone website, which would automatically fit a mobile screen, all these 30% of people that are coming to your website, chances are they're not going to spend a lot of time. They're not going to click on more pages. They're not going to read content. They're not going to do any of those engaging things. Another thing also to keep in mind is, sometimes people have the misconception that if you do have a big, massive website, all of it needs to be transferred to a mobile device. Now, that's not necessarily true. You got to first think about when people are coming to your website through a mobile device, how are they behaving? So usually people want quick, fast information. So if I'm a restaurant, I want people to look at the menu, I want people to find directions, and I want people to pick up the phone and call me. Those are my three main probably buttons I'm going to have there. And probably the first one at the top is going to be directions, right? Or or deals of the day or something along those lines. So even understanding how people behave depending on the platform that they are all accessible. The great thing about analytics, you could get that nitty-gritty where you could even show which device are people coming on. So this example here of one of our clients, you could see that majority of their traffic is coming through an iPhone, then the iPad, then the Samsung, then the iPod, and it goes on and on. There's pages. We kind of joked around with this client because I think they had about 50 different devices, 50 different pages, and unfortunately BlackBerry wasn't even on the list. I mean, we're here a Canadian company. Well, I'm here from Canada, so unfortunately BlackBerry didn't survive. In fact, using this example here, there's actually more people that visit the website on their Nintendo Wii than they did through a BlackBerry. So it just kind of tells you where people are shifting and how technology could so quickly change. Okay, so having that said, I'm going to just quickly have a poll that I want to ask a quick question to everybody here on the call. So you should see a question coming up on the screen right now, just asking if you currently have a mobile website or a responsive website, or if you're not sure. So I'll just wait a few seconds for everyone to actually go ahead and vote. Okay, great. So there should be a way. Hang on. Let me see if I could actually display the results. GoToMeeting just recently changed their whole interface here, so it's kind of funky. But hang on one second. Okay, so you should be able to see this on the screen. So this is great. So this looks like 75% of you guys do have a mobile or responsive website, 15% do not, and 10% have no idea. So it's great to see those facts, like I said, because especially since the majority of people do not, all those people that have, you already have an upper hand on your competitors, because when people are doing searches on a mobile device, Google gives preference to those websites that are mobile friendly. So that actually kind of leads us to our next slide over here, which is getting found in Google. So I just want to actually make sure, could you guys actually, Wendy, could you just confirm, because I want to make sure that the poll screen is not still showing. Are you seeing this title slide getting found in Google right now?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. So we just talked about, obviously for those people who have mobile devices, a quick jump start against your competitors. But this is another big trend of 2014 is fighting that Google battle and getting found. And anyone that really has done search engine optimization, or if you've hired an agency to do it, or if you're managing in-house, these two guys, these Penguin and Pandas, might be familiar to you. And if you haven't engaged in this, these are not just furry, cute little animals we like to throw up. These are actually Google algorithm updates that Google names, and they just happen to name them recently after all these little animals. Long story short, there's so many of different Google algorithm updates that happen over time. On the screen over here, you can see some of the major ones that we've listed. In 2013, there were over 500 algorithm updates, and not to say that you need to sit there and memorize every single one and know the exact dates, but whoever is your digital agency that's doing your optimization, it's so critical that you understand what Google is doing in terms of fixing their algorithm to what they call fighting web spam. So here is, when we look at 2014 and in the future, we often get asked the question, well, I want to be ranked #1 in Google for my keyword phrase. I mean, who doesn't want to be ranked #1? But that's not the question to be asking. It's generally, do you deserve to be ranked #1 in Google? That's a big, big difference. So, for example, if I want to be ranked for any given keyword phrase like, I don't know, let's just say I want to be ranked for the term iPhone, okay? Do I generally have the best information on that phone? So do I have before and after photos? Do I have content? Do I got testimonials? Do I got people that have used the phone with their experiences? Do I got related applications? Do I've got videos? Do I got infographics? I'm going to talk about the evolution of the iPhone. Now, I'm just using an example there, but whatever your keyword phrase may be that you want to rank for in Google, or whatever that topic is, whether you're a dentist, a lawyer, or a plumber, regardless of what you do you have the best information, that content that talks enough about that topic for Google to say, you know what? If you've got a 5-page website talking about an iPhone, but your competitor has a 100-page website with videos and content and testimonials and infographics and photos and a whole bunch of stuff that talks about that same topic, who do you think they're going to rank higher in Google's eyes? They're obviously going to give more preference to the bigger, larger, stronger website because they're more likely to answer the user's question, whoever conducted the search, and be a resource to that person. So again, I don't want to be misleading in saying just because you have more content you will rank better, but it is an important factor of many factors. And we're not just talking about any content. You know, Google checks to see, well, if you've got content on your website, when someone comes to your website, how long are they staying there for? This was never a factor before in the earlier years of optimization in Google. So Google wants to know that if anyone typed in the word iPhone, and let's just say I'm ranked #1, and they clicked on my website, and they stayed there for 5 seconds, and they left. And then the #2 website was Bonnie. And they clicked on Bonnie's website, and they stayed there for about 4 or 5 minutes. They looked at all these different pages. That already tells Google that I, Baltage, don't deserve to be ranked #1 because the traffic that's coming to my website, they're not staying around for a long period of time. They're quickly leaving. And on Bonnie's website, who's ranking #2, they're actually staying for a longer period of time. So Google now knows that if anyone types in that keyword phrase, it makes sense to move Bonnie up the list and Baltage down the list because my engagement is not there. So this is a whole new angle of optimization. It's not just getting traffic to your website. It's about how do I get my customers or my clients or prospects to actually stay on my website and engage and view other pages and so forth. In addition to that, one of the ways Google understands if your content is popular and people like it and they want to share it is, are they sending it to different social networks? So for example, if I went on Bonnie's page that talks about the evolution of the iPhone, I'm like, wow, that's a pretty neat infographic. I want to share this with my followers on LinkedIn. When I do that, that is giving a social signal to the search engines that your content is relevant, important, and people like it. So the main message over here is if you're trying to get rankings in Google, #1, obviously write supporting content that talks about that topic or that product. #2, write it in a way that's engaging, that's going to get people to stay on your page. And #3, encourage people to share it with their social network. This 3 combination is the winning home run when we're looking at optimization in 2014 and beyond. So just a quick fact, businesses who blog actually get 67% more leads than those who don't. So blogging is one of the quickest, fastest ways you can actually generate great content on your websites that can also, again, encourage people to share. A very old term when you're looking at SEO or search engine optimization is called link building. So in the past, a lot of SEO companies used to go up to clients like yourself and say, hey, we will build you all sorts of links and point them back to your website. Again, when we're looking at the future of SEO, that's no longer the case. It's not about link building, it's about link earning. Google has gone away from the sense that the more links you have, it's going to be better for you. I mean, they look at it this way. If those links are not driving targeted traffic back to your website, you've simply built those links most likely for SEO purposes, and that is against now what they call their terms and conditions. And depending on the different penalties that they have out there, links could potentially now hurt you opposed to actually helping you. So if you're acquiring a whole bunch of links and your rankings are falling, there's a strong probability that Google has penalized you because they think of these links are coming from either unnatural sources or they're from websites that they've classified as bad. And there's so many ways that how they determine if it's a bad link. But this is something you have to be very wary of. Another Google update was, and again, this has actually happened towards the end of last year, but we're really seeing it take effect right now, is the Hummingbird update. And just to kind of show you guys what that is, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Ask Jeeves. This is a very old search engine. I used to love this guy. He was the butler. But if you don't recognize Ask Jeeves, you might be familiar with with Siri through Apple iPhone. Where basically you would actually ask, for example, Siri, hey, what is the weather like in Toronto? Or where could I find the best sushi restaurant in California? That is how people talk to these devices, and they would interpret that text and provide you results. So Google is becoming a lot more sophisticated now when people are asking Google questions and typing them in. So again, I'll use this example of an iPhone because I always seem to break my iPhone. So this is a search that I conduct quite often. So in the past, Google's always their thought process was for every single keyword phrase that you want to rank for, make sure you write a unique page of content that talks about that keyword phrase. Otherwise, you will not rank. So in the event that, for example, if I typed in cracked iPhone or broken iPhone or fixed iPhone screen or cracked iPhone screen repair, I mean, those are 4 or 5 different keyword phrases I just mentioned. And in theory, before Google will show and would show different results. But Google is now getting smarter. So for example, let's look at Google as a person. If I went to Wendy and said I broke my iPhone or I cracked my iPhone, where could I get it fixed? Or my screen just cracked or is broken, where could I get it repaired? I've asked her 3 different questions, but they all really mean the same thing. And it doesn't make sense that Wendy now gives me different answers. Right now, Google is still giving different answers because they're looking at each one of those phrases being different. However, this Hummingbird update, they're getting smarter and smarter, understanding that regardless if someone types in any of these variations of these phrases, that it all means the same thing. And if you're ranking well for it, you will rank well for all the different related terms. And the way to do that is, again, you really need to build authority and trust in Google that regardless if anyone types in that keyword phrase or that topic, I've got so much supporting content and information that talks about that subject matter that I deserve to be ranked number 1 or on page 1 of Google for that specific phrase. Another big shift in this is local optimization. So again, it's not a surprise that a lot of us have smartphones. I mean, if I forgot my driver's license and I got in my car, I would take the risk and not turn back. But if I forgot my phone, that's something that I would actually turn back and go get my phone. And I would assume most people behave the same way. And Google's even predicting that by the end of this year, there will be more searches conducted through mobile devices than desktop and laptop combined. So if we know this is the trend and this is where everyone's going and we all got these digital computers in our pockets virtually everywhere we go, it's great that 75% of you actually have a mobile version of your website. But now the bigger question is, are you actually being found through mobile search and local search? So this really relates to those map listings where, you do a search and you see the letters A, B, C, D, E, F. So I mean, this could be a whole webinar on its own of how to get ranked there, but just very high level in terms of what you need to do. You need to make sure that if you're a local business and getting those local maps is important to your phrase, you need to make sure that your business is listed on City Search, Google Places, Yahoo Local, Bing Local, Merchant Circle, Foursquare, Yelp, insider pages, Judy's Book. There's a whole bunch of these type of websites that you need to make sure that your business, not only is it submitted, it's accurately submitted. We've seen so many instances where companies have moved or they have different phone numbers, or sometimes they use a P.O. box, sometimes they don't. Sometimes when they're linking back to their website, they use www. Sometimes they forget to put the www and they just put the link without it. I mean, even though it's all the same thing, Google looks at this all being different, and then that means there's a disconnect. The more accurate you can make sure that your business profile is in all these places and you've claimed all these places, and not just submit your information there. So for example, most of you guys, whether you know this or not, already have a Google business page for your business. Because if you've never created one or claimed one, Google probably has done it for you because they scrape listings through Yellow Pages and other directories. So they know that your business exists. But what they don't know is your business hours. Do you have any photos? What type of payment do you accept? Do you have any videos? What are your social channels? Do you have any reviews? I mean, these are all the information that you could tell Google to help them understand your business better. And the more information you provide to them, the more likely chance that you are going to rank better in the actual search engines. Okay, so now moving on to video marketing. So video, again, this is not going to come as a surprise. I mean, just some quick facts here. 65% of us are visual learners, and we consume video data 60,000 times faster than text. So then it's just interesting how many people are not leveraging video marketing in their actual strategy. Actually, sorry, I forgot to ask a quick other poll I want to on that previous slide. So just on the topic of search engine optimization and so forth, you should see a question coming on your screen. If you want to provide us some feedback, we would be very interested in this in terms of if you are doing SEO currently, let us know. And A, do you have great results? Or B, did you have results and they seem to have dropped or you weren't doing well to begin with? Or C, you know you're doing it, or someone in your firm is doing it, but you're not exactly sure how you rank, and or D, if you're not doing it at all. Okay, we're just waiting for a few more votes to come in. Okay. So if you guys want to see the results here, so you could see that this is good. So 21% of you guys have got great results, 16% of you guys have dropped, 32% are not sure, and 32% are actually interested in doing this. So for those 16%, the people that have actually dropped, there could be just so many different variables as to why it dropped. But again, majority of the reasons why, if your rankings have dipped in the last 26 months, so in the last 2 years, the more than likely probability is because of either one of two things. It's either that Panda or Penguin update. The Panda one, that's if you have little or thin content on your website, which is actually, you probably want that problem because it's easy to fix. That's just about adding fresh content and more content. Or it could be the Penguin update, which is, that's your worst case scenario, which is there's probably harmful links pointing back to you that are actually penalizing your rankings. So again, you could obviously reach out to Bonnie and Wendy if you want to follow up with some additional help on those subjects, and or even some feedback in terms of some future webinars through Chicago and beyond.
Baldrige?
Yep.
I just wanted to jump in there. One other thing that we know, and I just wanted to point out to everyone, why your SEO or why your ranking could be dropping is because your competitors are becoming more aggressive with their SEO campaigns.
Absolutely.
So have to keep that in mind as well, is that there are plenty of other business trying to rank for those spots on the first page of Google.
Absolutely. So going right back, actually videos in fact is one of the quickest, fastest ways you could actually get results in Google. And the reason why is not many people are doing what we call video optimization. When you do a search in Google for a keyword phrase, you're competing against all these websites, as Wendy just mentioned there, that are trying to outrank you and optimize and write content. But how many of them are actually providing and creating videos on that same subject matter? And if you create videos, I mean, YouTube has got so many different statistics. I mean, I think we were just looking at some of them, but I mean, over 1 billion unique views now per day on YouTube alone. And if you look at the millennial generation, 1 in 3 of them don't consume any broadcast data at all. It's all video content that's online. So, you know, it all, of course, it depends on your target audience and who you're speaking to and so forth. But I mean, videos is not something that's going away. It's actually predicted by, I think it's the year 2017, 70% of all information online is going to be through some type of video format. So having that said, before we tell our clients, hey, just quickly run to YouTube and start uploading your commercials and all that other good stuff, it doesn't work that way. You don't want to just be advertising on YouTube and just throwing your commercials there. You have to be smart of how you engage and talk to those people online, especially if you've done any pre-roll ads. And what pre-roll ads are, you know, when you're watching a YouTube video and you see like a commercial come up before the video, the biggest mistake brands make when they're doing that is actually a great strategy to do pre-roll ads. But if your video is not engaging within that first 5 seconds, you're going to lose that person because their mouse is already, if you're like me anyways, their mouse is already on that skip ad. Like they're just ready to hit that skip button because you're forcing to watch something that you never wanted to watch. So it's so critical that you actually capture that person's attention within that 5 seconds where they actually want to hear what you actually have to say. So having that said, a good example is of, I'm not sure if you guys have seen this person before. He owns a blender company called Blendtech, and he could have simply gone onto YouTube and said, hey guys, buy my blender, it's the best in the world, there's a link in the description below, and blah 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 blah. But what he did was he created a channel where every week or so he starts blending weird objects like a crowbar, golf balls. In this case, usually he blends stuff that just came out. In this case, he's actually blending both the iPhone 5 and the Galaxy S3 when it first came out. You can see this video got over 8 million views. So he found a cool, engaging way of how he could leverage videos in terms of showing the power of his blender and making it fun. So after he's done blending this stuff into crumbs and showing it, it's kind of cool to watch. But at the end of the day, the message is, wow, that blender is pretty powerful. I mean, obviously, if it could break my iPhone into crumbs, I'm sure it could cut my fruits and vegetables, right? So he's using a very creative way of showcasing the actual power of his blender. So there's so many different ways to use videos in your marketing mix. You could have how-to videos, so that are more informative. Those ones could be a little bit longer. So if I were to do videos on YouTube, I would never say, hey, do you need SEO services? Please contact me. I would never talk like that. I would do, here's 5 things to increase your Facebook strategy. Here's 3 things you don't know about optimizing your Twitter profiles. Or here's some neat tips of how to get found on Google+. And I would just provide genuine content that helps business owners. And when you start doing that for your brand, depending on what you're doing, you're seen as that leader or that expert or that industry expert, and they will come to you for information. So there's a lot of great examples of how you could leverage videos. One of the neat ones that I actually just recently saw, that if you haven't seen this, it's pretty cool because it plays a very creative role in terms of your competitors and how you can leverage videos. This was actually done by DHL, and if you have not seen this video, I'm sure you can go to YouTube and just type in DHL, probably DHL prank or something like that, or even on the DHL official channel. I'm sure they still have it. It's about a month or maybe 2 months old right now. But what they did was they took these big boxes and they figured out a way to freeze them in some type of cooler where the material went black, so you cannot see the text that was written on these boxes. And they went ahead and sent it to their competitors like UPS and FedEx and all these other companies. And they sent these guys to deliver these packages into locations that were very difficult to find around the city. So like for this case, the UPS guy would come, he would pick up this box, he loaded it up in his truck, and while it was in his truck, once these boxes started to get back into room temperature, the black coating on the outside, it actually started to melt. And what the box actually said was DHL is faster. So if you think about how cool this is, I mean, imagine a FedEx guy walking down a busy street carrying a box that's saying DHL is faster, not even knowing it's actually saying that. So anyways, this is a more viral type of creative thinking, but I just thought it was pretty cool to show this type of thought processes. The next topic in terms of where we're going is with search and social combined. For the longest time, again, all those people that have said they've done SEO in the past, this is going to be coming as no surprise to you how important it is to tie your social media strategy with your search engine optimization strategy. But the one big forgotten social network that hasn't been utilized is Google+. I mean, it's always been a struggle for most brands to even wrap their heads around Google Plus. I mean, we've been trying to convince brands, hey, you need to be on Facebook and get fans and get likes, or be on Twitter and get followers, or even now join Pinterest and get people to repin. But Google Plus has always been a mystery. Like, what exactly do I use Google Plus for? And do people even engage on Google Plus? Regardless of if people engage or not, here's the reality. If you want to be found in Google for your keyword phrases, you cannot avoid Google Plus. If you do, you're missing out on a huge opportunity to outrank your competition. So let me just show you, let's fast forward in the future, where Google's mindset is headed in terms of their thought process of how they're actually going to be showing you results. And Facebook is actually doing it right now. So here's a quick screenshot of Facebook. And when anyone that uses Facebook, when you're inside and doing a Facebook search, just pay close attention to what happens when you start typing in someone's name. In this example over here, I started typing in the word Doug. And what ends up happening is on my when I'm logged into my account, it's showing me all the Dougs that I'm connected to. So it shows Doug Schuss, Doug Jackie, Doug Thompson, Doug Fowler. So these are the 4 Dougs that are all part of my circle of friends, because Facebook knows that, hey, if I'm typing in this person's name, I'm most likely looking for someone that I am connected to and I'm friends with. Now, just in case I'm not looking for any of these Dougs, that's tier 1. Tier 2 is all the Dougs that that I have mutual friends with, because Facebook's thinking is, well, if you're not looking for these Dougs, you've got 6 mutual friends that all know this Doug over here, so most likely you're looking for him. And if you have no more mutual friends, and the third one is just all the other regular Dougs or people named Dougs, or and so forth and so forth. So just as a recap, how is this going to change when we're looking at Google? If I went into Google right now and did a search for like Sushi Toronto, what's going to happen over time is something called personalization search. And Google's already, it's already here, but it's going to be a lot more elaborative, especially with your social influence in your profile. So what I mean by this is we could all be sitting beside each other in the same room and all do the exact same search in Google for the exact same keyword phrase, and we will all get different results based on our social network and influence. So let's use an example here. If I search for Sushi Toronto, the first thing Google is going to show me is, am I connected to any brand, specifically Google Plus, that, so for example, let's just say there's a sushi restaurant and I started following them on Google Plus. The next time I search for anything sushi related, that brand, if they wrote a blog post, if they wrote an article, if they had something updated on the menu, if they got a special, that is automatically going to show up in my what Facebook calls your news feed, but in Google calls your search engine result page, which is the page that you see when you see the results there. That feed is going to show up right there for me because Google knows that I am interested in what that brand has to offer. Now, let's say I'm not even following any brands, but I'm signed into my Google account and I've got 200 followers on my Google account. Well, the next thing Google is going to show me what brands my friends are connected to. This is where Google Plus becomes so powerful, in the fact that even if your direct customers are not using it, if you get people to join your circle, their network, like the people that they're connected to when they're doing searches online, your postings and your blog listing, all that stuff could now show up in their news feed, or what we call their search engine result page, simply because they're connected to that person. And the third one is obviously if there's no connection. Now this is like your regular SEO work that we see today, where you do a search and you're just getting a list of websites that Google thinks that best answer or deserve to be ranked #1 because they're subject experts on that specific topic. So very important for your digital marketing mix for 2014 to keep this in mind. Just looking at how quickly and how effective Google Plus is. People don't realize this. Myself and Doug, we were actually doing a convention in Hawaii 2 weeks ago. So what I did was, while Doug was actually presenting there, I took a quick photo of him, and on my Google Plus page, so my personal Google Plus account, I just posted, I'll zoom in here, this is all I wrote. I'm like, at a digital marketing convention in Hawaii. and the presenters, and I put all the different names. We're there with Google and so forth. So that's all I wrote on my personal Google Plus wall. Now here's the very powerful stuff. Once I actually went ahead and posted on my wall, I went ahead and remember, keep in mind, I'm in Hawaii right now. I just posted this. I went ahead and contacted Ryan, who's out of our Waterloo office, and said, hey, Ryan, could you do me a favor? Because I know Ryan is connected to me on Google+. I mean, could you go into Google and do a search right now for the term Digital Marketing Convention in Hawaii, take a screenshot of it, and send it back to me? And he's like, okay. You can almost guess what happens. When he typed in Digital Marketing Convention in Hawaii, and Ryan was signed into his Google account, take a look at that listing that showed up. And more importantly than that, let me zoom in again. So this is the listing that showed up at a Digital Marketing Convention. It's got my face there. But take a look at how quickly it got listed inside Google's database and how quickly it appeared on Ryan's profile when he searched for Digital Marketing Convention in Hawaii. We're talking about in seconds. So within 60 seconds, it's already indexed and it's already on page 1 of Google. This is the power of Google Plus that a lot of people are not utilizing right now. Now, some people might think, well, Digital Marketing Convention in Hawaii, it's such a long-term phrase. Do people even search for that? Again, I didn't do any keyword research. This was just for the sake of showing how fast Google works. But I asked Ryan, do me one more favor then. Could you go ahead and do a search for just the term Digital Marketing Convention, which has about 52 million results? Or how about the term digital marketing, which has the term 781 million websites competing for that phrase? Or even the term marketing, which has 521 million websites competing for that phrase. Guess what? In all 3 scenarios, within 1 minute of me posting that post, I was on page 1 of Google for all 3 terms when Ryan was signed into his account and doing a search. Now here's the neat part. This was done about 2 weeks ago. I asked Ryan today to go ahead and do the exact same searches for all these same phrases. My listing there, it's still showing on page 1 of Google on his account. So just want to be clear here. Just because you guys go ahead and do a search for any of these phrases, you're not going to see my posting. Because why? You're not connected to me on Google+. Now, this is why it's so important as a brand, you start getting your customers to become part of your network, because when they search for anything that you're talking about, or even when their extended network searches for anything that they're connected to and they're connected to you, you now have the probability of not only appearing on page 1 of Google, but appearing within seconds. It's almost instant. We call this instant SEO, and it's only through Google Plus for the time being. So very, very powerful stuff in terms of getting quick, effective rankings and traffic towards your website. Just some more trends from an analytic perspective right now. A lot of us probably do have Google Analytics installed on the website, but apart from that, there's a lot of different, Google Analytics tells you a lot of data, but they even have a site overlay that kind of tell you where people are clicking, but it's not accurate because they're basing it upon where the destination URL is. So it's not like a visual heat map. So for many of our clients, this has now become so important where we're installing what we call heat maps, where we could actually tell our client, like, look, if people are coming through Google and these dots over here are represented by the sources where they came from, we could segment this by geography, by referral, by time of day. There's so many different ways to segment this. So, for example, if I ran a radio ad and I wanted to find out when I ran my radio ad and I told people to come to my website, where are they going? Or if I ran a pay-per-click campaign in Google and they came to my website, where are they clicking on? Or if I've got different products, like a product gallery, which gallery are most people clicking on? That gives me so much insight as to where do I need to move my products, where do I need to move my pages, and so forth. So it's not just about having Google Analytics, which is obviously a cornerstone, but it's about combining some advanced analytics as well to really understand what people are doing on your website. So this is now the future. So if you want to go and look, where is all this stuff headed towards? basically before we used to take a look at our analytics and say, wow, most people want to look at this product. So it makes sense I put this product on the homepage of the website because we know based on the data that we're getting on a vast majority, this is the most likely behavior that's going to trigger a great response. That is no longer going to be the case. It's going to be the case where everything is going to be developing persona optimization. So imagine if you could actually lay out your website uniquely for every single customer that comes to your website to show them only what they want to see, or if they're, whether it's your website or your app, or it doesn't matter, or your mobile site, so they only see the things that they are engaged in, they like. You're already one step further in keeping them on your website, becoming a customer, making a purchase, whatever the goal of your website may be. The best example probably right now to kind of show you who's doing this is YouTube. So if you notice that if you're in YouTube and you start doing certain searches and so forth, you'll notice that YouTube then starts to see a pattern. Whether you're signed into your Google account or not, or your YouTube account, they will know the types of videos that you like. So if I watched a Jimmy Fallon video, next thing you know that on my homepage when I'm YouTube, every time Jimmy Fallon has a video or new videos or channels that are similar to Jimmy Fallon, YouTube now understands that's most likely the type of content and information that I want to see. So persona optimization is going to be quite a big thing in the future moving forward. This is actually a slide taken directly from Google over here. I thought it was very neat because it shows like 50 years ago, this is how we would all gather and watch the television, where everybody would just be glued to one channel and one station. Where today's world, that it's more, this is kind of how we are all watching television. In fact, Microsoft says about 68% of us have some type of device in our hand while we're watching, or close by or reaching range while we're watching television. So why is this so important? This is why so many popular TV shows now are actually using hashtags and getting their people that are actually watching their show to engage with them on social profiles, because the more people that are tweeting about the show and so forth, it's obviously increasing the popularity of the show. It's going to get more people to watch the show. I mean, that's really where the trend is going. So a good example is, I'm not sure if how many people here are Walking Dead fans, but if you're not, I mean, you might have heard of the show, but The Walking Dead, for example, not only do they get people to engage, but they've actually built an application that allows people to, while they're watching the show, to engage with it. So the application looks like this, where you could actually guess to see who's going to get killed, how many people are going to get killed, what weapon is going to be used to kill them, and then you get so the total number of kills in that episode, and then you have your predictions and you get a score, and more importantly, you could then share it on Facebook and Twitter, because depending on how good you are, you could start to brag to your friends that you are a Walking Dead expert or whatever it may be. Now, again, how does this relate back to most businesses? If you understand, again, if you look at offline marketing and online marketing, the commercials that we're going to be seeing on television shows, on your TV, are now going to be the same type of commercials, or a different level of commercials that we're going to be seeing on our mobile devices. It just doesn't stop on the web, or it just doesn't stop on television. All these different medias are now interacting with each other, where you as a brand have to determine if my audience is engaging on these platforms or on these specific verticals or on these shows. How could I make sure that my information of my product and my service is always at reach to them? From a design perspective, sorry, I'm just quickly looking at the time over here. I know we got to wrap things up, so let me just quickly go through this. From a design and layout perspective, you're going to notice that there's going to be a lot more flat designs and websites that are longer. Before, people would have navigation and clicks, because now so many people are using like iPads and things like that. People would rather just flick their page and click that way. And even from a design perspective, before we would have buttons that says click here, it would be beveled. Nowadays, we kind of already know how to use a computer. That most designs, that's why Google and Microsoft and everyone has kind of gone to this layout, where it's just like flat content panes where you just actually click on it and it actually loads up the content. Moving forward, just some cool stuff there, smart devices. So any of these wristbands or smart watches, I mean, these are all designed to capture lifestyle data. So, they could capture how long you sleep, how long you're in a deep sleep for, anything from how much food do you had during the day versus your calorie intake, where you get reminders that, hey, Baltage, it's been 15 minutes since you last jogged. It's time to get up and be active. So, I mean, again, what's the point of all these devices and so forth? If there's a way for you as a brand to have your product or your services, the information be fed through these type of devices at the fingertips of those users when they're using them, I mean, it's almost instant response or instant communication. So kind of what's next in terms of the future and so forth. There's lots of cool stuff. This is obviously a concept, but this is a chef where you could use holograms now. This is again, it's not live. It's a concept where essentially your website, you could be talking to a chef and you could pick a chef, and using hologram technology, now they're cooking your favorite meals in front of you and so forth and so forth. So having that said, technology, there's so much different ways of, like, there's Google Glasses, there's mobile, there's people using smart devices everywhere they go, there's these smart watches. We've talked about all these different technologies that people use, but just to recap in terms of where you need to be as a business owner, the number one question you have to ask yourself, are you ensure that you are present where your customers are. So if they're on mobile, if they're using social media, if they're on Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest, you need to identify which social networks are they on and make sure you're there. Are people acting towards ads and organic, or are they more on email marketing and so forth? Basically, wherever your consumers are trying to find you, you need to make sure that you're present there. And not only where they're trying to find you, making sure that they have the best experience. So regardless if they're coming from a mobile device or if they're coming from a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, you want to make sure that engagement, that content, it's so rich in format, regardless of what device or app that they're using, they're going to be happy interacting with your brand. So that's it. I know we're just at the top of the hour. So Wendy, I'm not sure if any questions were coming through, but now would probably be a great time to pause.
I was just going to encourage anyone, if they had any questions, to go ahead and send them through. We did get a couple while you were talking, and let me see if some of those were added. Someone asked, Baltage, can my current website be made responsive if it isn't responsive now?
Yeah, so virtually almost every website out there could be made responsive. The only way you might have to worry is if you're using like a third-party application, like let's just say a third-party e-commerce platform or a third-party store locator, for example. We ran into those examples because if the service that you're using to embed in your website, if they're not responsive, even though your website is responsive, all that stuff that you link to or you embed, you need to make sure that those vendors are also responsive. But most likely they are, because chances are that they're well ahead of the curve because they're getting so many customers asking them for that service. So short answer is yes.
Okay, great. Someone else asked, is there an advantage to being responsive over having a mobile site or vice versa?
Yeah, great question. So there is a difference. So for example, here's the pros and cons of each. A mobile website is generally, you could build it quicker, faster, and your cost to build it is much cheaper. That's the pro of a mobile website. The con of a mobile website in most cases is the fact that now you have two separate CMSs, meaning if I'm updating, if I've got 5 new products I want to add to my my website and I put them on my desktop website, I also now have to go to my mobile website and update it there, because most mobile websites do not speak to the desktop website. They're actually two separate websites. So long term, from a maintenance standpoint, it could actually start costing a lot more time, resources, and money. So responsive websites, they cost more typically upfront, because that usually involves redesigning and reskinning your entire website into the different formats. But the benefit there is you only have one content management system. So when you make a change, when you add a page to your website, you add a photo, you add a menu or anything, regardless of what platform people are using, it automatically pushes towards all your different platforms.
Okay, great, great. someone had asked, and unfortunately because of our audio glitches at the beginning, I don't know was this webinar recorded today?
Yeah, so there is a recording of the webinar.
Okay.
Yes.
We are going to be, just so everyone knows, a brief survey from Chicago and beyond will be going out in the next 48 to 72 hours. So we can include the link for the webinar on that in case you want to review it again or someone in your office wasn't able to participate today. So we can include that information at that time. There was also a question about, someone asked that when they signed up for the webinar, it said that by attending we would receive a free web scan and internet business analysis. How do we get that? If anyone is interested in receiving that, you can reach out to Bonnie or myself. I don't think we have a slide with my contact information, but you can contact Wendy at whoward@wsimedia1.com. And when we send out that survey, I'll make sure Bonnie includes my contact information in there as well, because we would be happy to sit down with you. And to let everyone know, I was kind of surprised when we saw the 75% of you said that you had responsive design on your sites. And I know we were looking at some of the websites beforehand, and it didn't seem like quite that many were responsive. So that might all depend on who actually logged in today versus who signed up for the webinar. So if you have any questions about that too, please feel free to reach out to me. If you think it's responsive or you thought it was and now you're not sure, we're happy to answer those questions for you. And there's my email address. Very good. Does anyone else have any questions before we wrap it up here? I'm not seeing any coming in. Are you, Baltage?
No, not on my end.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, for your time today. And we look forward to hopefully doing this with the partners of Chicago and Beyond again in the future. And we hope everyone got something out of today's webinar, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you very much. Thank you, Baltage and Bonnie. We're sorry we couldn't get you chimed on here, but everyone have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the week. Bye.